So I think about a month or so ago, I actually made a video talking about all the rumours going around online that the St Kilda Football Club were expected to try and dominate the 2025 AFL trade period. Again, since that, everything I've talked about in that video has really just become more and more true, and a lot more, I think, fuel to the flames has really been added, very much since that. And a lot of the rumours back then, like I was talking about Tom de Koning and St Kilda being very interested in him, offering him a lot of money, as we know, they're expecting that to officially happen now. They are expecting Tom de Koning to pretty much be a Saint, and that's kind of that, right? Again, I talked about a lot of rumours in that one, but very much since then, there have been 180 other million, billion, quadrillion things that have popped up with St Kilda. And I think they've got this, confidence that's come out of nowhere since they've kind of realised that Tom de Koning is a lock to become a St Kilda Football Club. Again, it's kind of like a fat kid at a swimming pool who got told he actually looks kind of good today, so he decides to take off his rashi. Again, that's how I feel like the St Kilda Football Club kind of are. And I don't know where I pulled that analogy from. That came from somewhere up my arsehole that I don't think has ever been seen before. But there have been a lot of things that have been happening, and I wanted to talk about a couple of these. Again, on the Leek one, it's something that I've also mentioned on the channel before. It looks like this could very well be underway as well. Again, we've mentioned on the channel that the St Kilda Football Club are expected to offer him a really big deal that he kind of can't refuse. Again, whether it's front-ended or not, we actually really don't know, but there was the idea and the number thrown around of about 800,000, which is actually pretty insane. But again, he is getting a lot more games for the Giants right now, and he's actually growing more and more as a player, and his price tag actually could be increasing. So I think this one actually has a little bit more to play out than what it previously did. But again, insiders were saying that if Tom de Koning was kind of a lock to St Kilda, the other lock was probably going to be Leek. But in my opinion, with Aaliyah really starting to play a lot more games right now at the Giants, and them actually seeming like they're falling more and more in love with him as the days go past, I think this is going to be one that actually comes down to the wire, and I'm going to be interested to see how this goes. But at the end of the day, there is a big price tag for Leek right now, and the Saints are offering him quite a bit. And in my opinion, they really need another key defender. And the reality is this guy is actually, he's got a really nice intercept game and a third man game to him as well. Again, I was watching him against Richmond, and he can peel off his player and read the play to, I don't want to call it an elite ability, but it is becoming that, and he actually is really, really growing into that. So I think the Saints would love him. He's one that they are, of course, really interested in. Again, as we know, reported on Gettable by Callum Toomey and Riley Beveridge, they actually did talk about two players the Saints are also really interested in. I'll start off with the first one that I've kind of talked about on the channel a little bit, but Miles Bergman is getting a lot of interest from the St Kilda Football Club. Again, I've reported on the channel that he was offered a 7-year deal by the Port Power. Again, I actually kind of think he might accept that, but then there's been the shadow talks that yes, money is cool for Miles Bergman, and he actually really does like it in Adelaide, but there are a lot of rumours going around right now that he really wants to play more inside midfield, and Port just can't really supply that. Again, they've got Rosie in there, even though he's got a little bit of a different role now, but he's in there. Zach Butters is in there. Horn Francis is in there. Wines is in there. Drew is in there. Boca's been in there. A bunch of other different players, right? I think even Willie Rioli's played some time in there. Miles Bergman just plays way too much of a crucial position down half back for them, where they haven't been able to move him. But if the St Kilda Football Club promise to play him in the inside midfield, which I think they realistically will, because they actually really need inside midfielders as well, I think this could get done. I think this could legitimately get done. And this is another player that we could see go to the Saints. So, again, I don't talk about it on the channel much where I think that players could legit be done to certain teams. But I think Leek is a massive chance to the Saints. De Koning's a lock to the Saints. And I think Bergman is a massive chance to the Saints as well. Again, Harley Reed, I don't think so. I don't think it makes any sense for Harley Reed to go to St Kilda. Again, considering the Saints train down Moorabbin Way, they spend time on the, on the peninsula doing clinics and whatnot. I don't think Harley Reed is going to want to go there as well. Again, I think he's going to want to go to a big four in a city, big market team. I think Richmond and Essendon are very much the two obvious ones. So even though St Kilda are interested in Harley Reed, like they've mentioned, I don't think they'll be the ones who get him. I think he'll either stay at West Coast or he'll personally go to Richmond. I think Richmond are the favourites right now, but Essendon have a lot of money and a lot of assets too. But yeah, I think let's call off Harley Reed to St Kilda. I don't think much is going to go on there. But Miles Bergman, I think, is a massive chance. Again, Tom Morris has actually thrown around a couple names as well. One that I think is really interesting, and he talked about how this guy and Leek would actually be two of the best in St Kilda could possibly bring in. And that does happen to be Jack Silvani. Again, we don't know what's going on with Carlton right now. I mean, De Koning is... I'm 99% sure De Koning is gone. I'm almost calling that a lock at this point. De Koning will be a St Kilda football player, right? And then you've got Sam Walsh, who is the other guy I've got to mention here. Sam Walsh is getting interest from the Saints for next year, but he's also getting interest from like Hawthorn, Geelong, I think Collingwood next year. They're already showing very much early interest in him, so he could very much leave. Then you've got a couple other guys in there, one of which is Jack Silvani. Jack Silvani is, I would say, a high half forward who was always like the third tall in there, right? I never really thought he was that good of a player. I've been very critical on him. I think a lot of his career, in my opinion, he just got a game because of his name. And I think a lot of people agree with that. But the reality is that he's not a key forward or third forward, whatever you want to call him anymore. He's been moved down back. He's playing a key defender role. And statistically, he's been one of the better defenders in the AFL and plays like that third tall really, really well for Carlton right now. And the thing is, they didn't really want to offer him that big of a contract. He was coming off his ACL, but his price tag has very much increased. And while Carlton's current offer is apparently a 1 year, like a 2 year if they have to, Stephen Silvani, his literal dad, who is the list manager of St Kilda, is reportedly willing to offer him a 3-year deal to go to them. And if I was him, I would legitimately do it. I think if I was him, I'd wait it out and just try and absolutely kill the rest of the season and really try and get a 4th year. Again, if he could get a 4th year, that would be absolutely insane for him. Again, that could be the difference in him leaving. He might say to Saints, look, I've got a 2-year offer here from Carlton on similar money. Your 3rd year is not enough to get me over. Give me a 4th year and we'll make that happen. Again, I don't know if that's the case. I think it will just be 3 years. But at the end of the day, if you get those 4 players in, De Koning in the ruck for St Kilda, Leek and Jack Silvani down back, and of course Miles Bergman as another backman / inside midfielder, yeah, the team completely changes. And I mean, they should realistically push for the 8. Again, they're not done there. Tom Morris has also reported they are one of the favourites for James Worpel. Again, I think movement on James Worpel re-signing with Hawthorn has kind of happened. So I wanted to report this at the end of the video in case it does happen at the time of making this, where Worpel does re-sign. So if, he does re-sign and this video comes out and I've just forgotten to edit this out, go in the comment section down below. Don't be like, oh, shit, this guy made a mistake. Again, it's very, very hard to know. Like, it could happen any day. Worpel could just decide to wake up one morning, slap me in the face with his cock, and freaking re-sign. It's happened before. I've had to delete videos I've had videos talking about players that could be on the move, especially in the NBA. It used to happen all the time, and they just re-sign or something crazy happens. And the NFL is one that's like lethal for that. Like, for the longest time, Myles Garrett for the Cleveland Browns was requesting a trade and wanted out. And then one morning, apparently Cleveland just went to him with an offer he couldn't refuse, and he like signed it that morning, which was crazy because like the day before they were reporting about this guy being traded, and it was just 12 hours later they offered him that deal and he signed it right there and then. It happens, right? It can happen in the AFL too. Again, Geelong are apparently interested in Warple as well. I think they'll beat the Saints to him if anyone was to get him. So I won't really talk about that one much at all. But again, I think if they get Max King in their forward line doesn't look that bad. They could probably draft to fix their forward line. But if they want to improve this team, again, Max King could be the key forward that comes in. If you bring in Tom De Koning via trade free agency, then Rowan Marshall can go in and be key forward. So you added Rowan Marshall to your key forwards as well. You add Miles Bergman to that inside midfielder, solving your part of your midfield problem. And then you go out and you get your defenders in Silvani and Aaliyah to go with Taru, who should play much more next season, hopefully, for them, and Cal Wilkie, who's already there. Again, things are really starting to look up for the Saints, and I think a lot of these moves can happen. You know, I made a video, I don't know if it will be out at the time of this one coming out, but I also made a video talking about a bunch of Sydney moves, and everything there was really speculation. But the reality is that none of this is speculation for St Kilda. They are in deep negotiations and talks with like all of these players, and I think they're pretty confident that they're going to get all of these players. So a lot of things are going to happen right now, but if you added those 4 players to this team, it completely revolutionizes and changes their team. So as I said, Marshall can go and play forward now. Taru will come in the team as well. They're probably going to have like 6 or 7 different guys in their 23 next year. And that's just the reality of things. From draftees coming through, players coming through, through trade and free agency, all of the above. It's going to be very much exciting for the St Kilda Football Club, and I think it's one of the first times you can be excited to call yourself a Saints fan if you're watching this video in a while, because they've been stuck in that mediocre rot. I think this is a chance to finally level up, and hopefully Liam Henry even comes back next year and plays a bit better too. Again, so much to look forward to, so many hopeful possibilities for the St Kilda Football Club. Again, comment your thoughts and opinions down below. What moves do you think they're going to make? What players are going to join them in free agency? What is it going to be? Again, I very much like to know. Subscribe to my gaming channel, which will be linked down below as well. My sports channel, which is this one. And yeah, I wanted to thank you guys for watching. Please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.